Over the course of 3 centuries, more than 4 million people were forcibly taken from their homelands across the continent of Africa to become the human fuel driving a booming economic engine in the New World.
West Africa and other outlying areas became a place where you can get cheap labor. And the slave trade became a boom. It became a world changer.
And that went on for 300 years as Africa, the continent of Africa, became an endless supply of human cargo.
After weeks or months at sea in nightmare conditions, the enslaved Africans that survived the journey arrived at quarantine sites in the New World. From there, almost half of all enslaved Africans took their first unimaginable steps of slavery across the boards of Gadsden's Wharf on the Charleston waterfront, where they were sold as property.
48.1% of all of the African slaves that came to the United States entered this country through Charleston. So blackness, black culture, the African experience, the African American experience, slavery, however you want to slice it, this is ground zero.
From this epicenter of history, on this hallowed ground will now stand a museum of connection, of education and remembrance of one of the most significant events of human migration the world has ever known.
I am Barbados.
I am Senegal.
I am Togo.
I am an American.
The IAAM is a new museum of African American history and identity. The IAAM experience will communicate the largely overlooked history of African Americans in the Low Country, in South Carolina, and the nation, to explain how this population is indelibly woven into the fabric of the complete American story.
In my view, one of the greatest casualties of the period of enslavement is the fact that the Africans who were brought here and sort of current day African Americans, our history, our sense of history, understanding where we came from, what our culture was, what our language was, that was all whitewashed away. So to have a museum on the spot where enslaved people came through just helps to frame the African American experience in this country in a way that I believe will be just extraordinarily uplifting.
I believe that we now have a larger group of individuals in South Carolina and in the world that recognize what happens when a whole group of people are overlooked.
And so we necessarily have to understand the story that unfolded here as ultimately an American story.
It is estimated that as many as 80% of African Americans today can trace an ancestor that came ashore in Charleston. This makes the location of the museum on the city waterfront pivotal to the legacy of the IAAM.
It was important that that history be presented in this city, which is profoundly important in the history of African Americans, and also so important for us to honor those who were brought here in chains in the bottom ships, who they and their families helped build this community and build our country.
I think it's very important that a great city in the South be the home of a great museum celebrating the achievements, the history, and the culture of persons of African descent. And I can think of no place more ideal, no place more perfect, no place more appropriate than Charleston.
I absolutely believe this will be one of the most important sites, museums, memorials in the entire country because of the intersection of history, of location. I think about Ellis Island, and I have friends whose families came through there, and I've seen, just what that means to them. And I've always felt a little, disconnected from that because I don't have any history there. Well, here's the opportunity for people of African American descent to have that kind of a connection.
We're always aware, if we choose to be, of the ghosts and echoes of an almost inexpressibly wise past. And the knowledge that this new museum will be situated over a wharf that brought in so many African slaves is such an amazingly powerful thing. You can go there and stand and feel not just the present moment, but all the moments that went before. It might be possible to imagine this. And in imagining it, we open up our hearts and our minds to new possibilities.
Not only a site of memorial and remembrance, the International African American Museum will be an unprecedented center of education and research. The IAAM is poised to host a significant national database feeding a hands-on family history and heritage lab. In addition, the museum will partner with local and national schools to provide rich educational experiences.
This is a gateway. Today we are looking back and we are seeing what occurred. We are assessing what transpired. We are seeing what vestiges still remain.
I believe that the International African American Museum is critical to have a understanding and awareness and appreciation for the sacrifice, for the life, the legacy, and history that African Americans played in the building and shaping not only of this community, the state, this nation, but this hemisphere.
It is going to be a hybrid space, a place of memorialization, a place of remembrance, as well as a place of learning.
When you go to the continent of Africa, to West African countries, you see the doors, the windows of no return, and there is a conversation, a dialogue about what that means. To complete the dialogue, there needs to be on this side a window, something looking back to complete the circular narrative of the importance of the slave trade.
It's the Ellis Island without a welcoming Statue of Liberty. And I think what the museum does is say, let's learn our history. We can both feel this stultifying prison that slavery obviously is, and at the same time be uplifted knowing that we have appealed to the better angels of our nature.
Join us in this opportunity to build an institution on a sacred site will help Americans understand who we are and enable us to together build a more unified future.
I am Ghana. I am Liberia.
I am Angola.
I am an American.